episode 78, rapidly approaching 100 of the Wrestle Chat podcast. I'm the AntMan. He's Michael Glavin. And we are, 3 weeks away now? 3 weeks away from WrestleMania 41, Las Vegas. And they keep adding stuff to all the festive. If you thought we were busy last year in Philly, man, you need some Adderall or something a little more less legal to stay up and do all of the things you need to do in Vegas with everything they have going on. I saw today that I got a press release. They're adding something else at Fontainebleau, and it is called WrestleMania After Dark. We're back to the Attitude Era, baby. That's what it sounds like. There's a pool party. There's all different things.
In Vegas. After Dark in Vegas.
Which, if you've never been to Vegas, it actually never gets fully dark with all the lights that are going on there. You never truly feel, even if you try to lay down and sleep. Luckily, most of them have blackout curtains in your room if you ever choose to sleep in Las Vegas. But I don't imagine many wrestling fans will be sleeping too much in Las Vegas coming up on April 19th and 20th with everything that is going on. And these are just what we're talking about is just stuff going on with WWE. Not any of the other organizations. I know TNA is going to have a big deal at the the UNLV campus. Thomas and Mack. That's the name of the place. It's a little thing off the Thomas and Mack Center. They're going to be running a show there too. Now, of course, they have the affiliation with WWE. So, I mean, heck, Undertaker could show up in TNA that weekend. You never know. Before we jump into some of the stuff from WWE, though, I want to address something that I actually threw up on TikTok this week. It was after Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite. I'll play what I posted here.
Question for you. Did you see what happened on AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday? I want to know your thoughts. Is this what wrestling is in 2025? I've seen some of you say, this is the alternative. This is what I've been looking for. I've also seen comments from some of you as well saying, yeah, I'm never watching AEW again. Listen, I grew up in the era of world-class championship wrestling and UWF. It seems like there was always someone bleeding every single week. But is a random 2x4 with framing nails driven through it and then subsequently driven through a competitor's back what we're doing for entertainment now in 2025? I'd love to know your thoughts. Chime in here. We'll talk about it next week on the Wrestle Chat podcast.
We're there. We're at this coming week on the Wrestle Chat podcast.
It's now.
So right now it's happening. Here it is. And some of your comments are on right now too. So appreciate you guys dropping these in. Apparently, but I really don't watch AEW, but I saw what happened and that looked painful. That's an understatement right there. It definitely looked painful. I like AEW, but that was a pretty big blunder on their part. Arguably worse than when Matt Hardy hit his head on the concrete. Two different worlds there. I mean, I think the Matt Hardy hitting his head on the concrete, unintentional. Landing on a spiked 2x4, intentional. Well, my screen's too small. I can't read this one yet. That's my old man eyes right here. I love the violence of wrestling, but sorry, this is too much for children watching. If it was a pay-per-view, I might understand, but please remember, children try that stuff. Do you want to receive a phone call of your child doing that? I don't. I would not. Please, the PG boring crap from WWE doesn't compare. That's from Megadeth. By the way, the name's Megadeth. I would expect them to not have an issue with it, right? Let's hear it. Loved it. Alternative, if you don't like it, don't watch. The obvious choice. CJ Campos, thank you for that comment. The spot was not worth taking a chance on, causing a real bad injury. We expect them to be athletic, but not crazy. It's Mox. He's crazy. Pure garbage. That is why wrestling gets a bad reputation. It appeals to the same people who stop at car accidents. Mastodon 8520. Thank you, dude. I'm not a fan of it, but it is an awesome visual. Okay. Broken Gamer. This is too much, in my opinion. That was from Travis Lilly 32. I have one more here. Yeah. The Roman Gladiators Live. It's more extreme than ECW. One I couldn't fit on here was from someone who said, hey, you forgot ECW. I didn't grow up on ECW. That's why I didn't mention ECW. I just mentioned a couple of places that I did grow up on, and it was very violent back in the 80s and even early 90s, but mainly the 80s in World Class Championship Wrestling and UWF. There were Bruiser Brody. It didn't matter what kind of match it was. It's just a normal match on a Saturday night. He bled. Now he would be logical though. He would hit a ring post or a chair or something like that. I don't even think the violence is the issue. At least it's not, in my opinion. I have some thoughts on this. I know you do too. I'm going to concede to you since I posted this. I'm going to concede to you and let you start things off, Michael. Your thoughts on this spot from Dynamite last Wednesday night?
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Why?
Got it. So we're moving on. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Yes.
There's so many layers. Like, wrestling at its core is about the suspension of belief. You can't be a wrestling fan and to some extent, even if you're a child, suspend belief. These two guys that hate each other come through the same curtain. They're in the same arena every week. Somehow they don't ever fight outside any other time, Mondays and Fridays, whatever. You have to, it's entertainment, but it still has to be explainable. I don't know. I'll take you back to, back in maybe the late 90s. You ever accidentally stumble across Cartoon Network after like 10 p.m. at night and you just see the most random stuff that you don't understand and there's no context to it?
Yep. That's
kind of what that felt like. Because, okay, hold on. So, first of all, why isn't there a union at this arena? Do they have OSHA? Why is there a board with a bunch of nails in it?
Right.
Did somebody bring it in? Was it under the ring? I don't remember where they grabbed it from, but it's
under the ring. Yeah.
Why is this here to start with? Then furthermore, there have been very few wrestling feuds in all of history where you legitimately believe that these two people hate each other enough to want to murder each other. And so, okay, you do that. I'm not even going to touch the safety thing. It's self-explanatory. But it's like, then to the point of the individual from the comment, it's on TV. And you're just throwing this stuff away. So anyway, my overall point is why. It doesn't make any sense on any level. So I'm going to wrap that up, put that there. And then separate from the why point is just the simple fact of like, I think it's because they don't know what else to do. Like they're not in the groove on storytelling. These guys seem like they all have individual creative control. We all know Mox has an affinity for doing very, very violent things in wrestling matches. And it just feels like there's no control. There's no story. It's just a free for all and it doesn't fit. And so, I would agree with what another person said. I don't think it's necessarily the spot itself that bothers me because I think there's been places in wrestling history that it could have worked. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the spot. I think it's everything except the spot that it just doesn't make sense to me. But Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I yield the floor.
It was interesting for a couple of days, and I frequent Busted Open quite a bit during the week. Even if it's not live, I'll catch it after it's been playing for a couple hours in that channel, and you can actually rewind, which is kind of cool. So I'll go back to the start, even if I don't start it until 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, right? And so a couple of days this week, Dave LaGreca, the guys have been talking about it. First, I want to point out that Bully brought up a point was he doesn't believe with 100%. He believes that he was supposed to land and roll off. It was supposed to be a spot where he got suplexed on it, lands, it hurts, and he rolls off. That it was never, ever one time expected to stick in Jon Moxley's back. I don't agree with that. And I know I'm not the professional. I know that he is. I just don't see any other way of doing that. Watching the way that they did it, the way he was positioned, why didn't it hit him in the legs? Why didn't it hit him in the butt? Because it was purposeful that it hit him in the back. Cope suplexed him close enough that he knew these guys are pros. He knows where that's going to land. What would make anybody think that they were just supposed to roll off and it not stick? Do I think it stuck further than they thought? Maybe. And I'll tell you, man, that is so dang close to his spine that if anything, I mean, you're talking about millimeters now. It could have penetrated his spine and been paralyzed. I think some of it is careless. Yeah. And it feels that way. And if that's the way it's supposed to feel, then great. Good job. Mission accomplished, because that's what it felt like to me. Do I feel like he messed up and he was supposed to roll off? No. And also, it felt so out of the blue. At one point, Dave was screaming about, if you don't like violence and you don't like blood, turn it off. This is not what the blood didn't bother me. No. The violence didn't bother me. In a longer way of what you said of why this? Yeah. Why here? Why on a random Wednesday night? Not the first match of the night, not the main event of the night. It was like the third match in. Yeah. Oh, by the way, these two are going to have a street fight. Yeah. And the title doesn't change hands. It's just, so in order for you to get to a point where the title does change hands, what are you doing? Pushing the guy off the top of a building? Yeah. Is that what we have to get to in this story? Because yes, you have to suspend that disbelief a little bit every time you watch wrestling, but some things it just makes logical sense when they walk out and do what they do in the story. Mm-hmm. Yes, it doesn't make sense for The Rock to jump from a building into a helicopter that's hanging out there. We know that didn't happen. But in the course of the movie, you were like, oh yeah, that makes sense for him to jump from here to there, or the car in Fast and the Furious to jump off and he can, jump out of one window, run across the top and back in the other side or whatever. It's like, okay, that's silly, but it is a movie. You think about that. But here it was like, this is normally a place where you just go, okay, maybe that's a decent match, or okay, maybe they're starting a story here. No, this was a continuation, but they felt that in the continuation of this story, like you said, he's going to murder him, right? Mm-hmm. With this thing. Yeah. Cope has had that. He calls him Spike. He has a case for it. When they were in Austin, he brought the case in and he took it out of the case, which was kind of cool. This looks ravaging. It could kill somebody. Right. And you think, okay, it's the same as Mick Foley and a barbed wire bat. Barbie. And you see that and you go, okay, yeah, that's going to be brutal. But it was always, if he had it, somebody's that they were already bleeding and he had it positioned just over their head and looked like he's just rubbing those barbs in their head. Yeah, it probably didn't feel great. I never once thought, oh, he better quit or he's going to die. Right. This one was like, he hit. I don't know if he's going to be able to stand up again.
Right. And what's interesting is at the same time, and this is obviously just an opinion. Okay. But at the same time, as much as we're kind of dogging on kind of everything we've said about the why do it portion of it, because they did do it, I don't know that it was that effective.
No.
In the sense of I can go back to Elimination Chamber and we've talked about this in years past about the newer version of the chamber is a lot safer and things like that. Sure. And even in the new baby playpen Elimination Chamber, even that seemed more brutal and interesting than that spot. And that should tell you something, because that it's not about the use of props. It's not about the grandiose of a structure or nails or whatever. It's about doing things for a reason. And there was just no reason to have that spot. It's just a miss overall.
Yeah, I agree. I hope this conversation continues when it comes to stuff like exactly what you just said, is that it didn't further the story for me. It didn't make me go, oh my gosh, I've got to watch what happens next. Yep. Between Mox and between Cope. I don't have to watch any more of that. In fact, if you're just going to surprise me on some random Wednesday in the middle of a show, I mean, I'll just record it, and if I hear something happens, go back and watch it. It doesn't entice me to move forward with these two.
Not to mention that it's impossible to continue to up the ante after that. There's no self-control in any of this from a storytelling perspective,
which I would expect. I get it from Mox. I do. I kind of, because he's random. I mean, I expect him to walk out at any time with a pizza cutter and at some point go through a pizza oven. Who knows?
Right.
Copeland, he's done some crazy stuff, but it's not his everyday MO. It's not what he does all the time. And I know he only has a little bit of time left. In that little bit of time, does he want to have a paraplegic on his hands? Saying, yeah, sure, I'll do that spot with you with Spike. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we said enough. I think we proved or stated our points for both of us. But continue to hear from you guys as well. If you liked it, explain why. What did it do for you? That's kind of what I'm past the point of going, man, you don't know what you're talking about. This is way better than that crap on WWE. Why? Explain why.
Tell me why.
Oh my gosh. The Boy Band Podcast is back on. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Awesome how well you pulled that out there. Speaking of boy bands, how about John Cena and Cody Rhodes? They could be a good boy band, maybe after this feud's over. They had round number 2 of the Battle of the Mics this past Monday, again overseas. Very nice, having a 3:00 start. It was done before 5:30, and I was lost on what to do on Monday night afterwards, like we talked about last week. And we've got one more week of that. It's going to be starting here my time, 2:00, 3:00 for you, because it's coming from London next Monday, and evidently they're doing their daylight saving time as well. They're doing that this coming week. So next Monday's Raw is going to come to us. This is the last Raw that John Cena is advertised for before WrestleMania. This is the last one they say, yep, he's going to be part of it. We don't have another one. I mean, we still have 2 more weeks after that of just no John Cena, or we're going to have The Rock. God forbid we have Travis Scott come back. I personally thought that round number 2 was not as effective as it was. It was like copy paste, but change a few details. Did it feel like that to you, or is it? Am I just hanging out here solo on this island?
I'm on the other side of the fence, bro. I think it got better.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Explain why. Tell me why.
Here's why. Do you remember what my biggest complaint was last week?
On which point? On those 2?
On John Cena and his elongated promo from last week. I don't. It wasn't that there was a mission or a goal. It was just, I'm going to come out here, be upset, feelings this, feelings that, but what's the why?
Hang on. I'm starting to notice a theme on this podcast.
There was, because I think what I did is I referenced, why now did John Cena take advantage of that moment in the chamber?
Yeah.
Why did he feel the need to betray Cody in order to stick it to the crowd? It didn't make sense.
Yep.
This week, I believe that it got better because John Cena clarified his intentions. Okay. You guys have been, and I actually like it, and I'm going to explain why. You guys have relentlessly mocked me. You've taken everything from me. I've given everything that I have. And there's one thing that I remember. It's that when I had my big moment and I won titles for the first time, whether it be the US title, the WWE title, I made it my own as a symbol of my success. And I did that for us. But you guys spat in my face. You let me know online how terrible everything was. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ruin wrestling for you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to win. And here's what I liked about this. Oh, let me finish this. I'm going to win, and I'm going to take that title home, and it's going to stay with me.
Yeah. I'm going to retire with it.
I'm going to retire with it, and you can go make a new toy for yourselves because now I'm in this for me. And what I love about this is that it's creating a bad guy outside of Cody and Cena. Cody's just the guy that holds the title. And yes, Cody's going to benefit from this, but I actually really like the fact that John's beef is not with Cody. It's with the people. And he's going to ruin wrestling by winning the title and taking it home, which I also love. Hear me out. Because it's the exact antithesis of the Summer of Punk and him trying to leave with the WWE Championship.
Sure.
Does that mean that we get to see John Cena and CM Punk switch places for the sake of the WWE Championship?
Yeah. Yeah. That could be cool.
So much there. And so all of that to say, I think that the goals were clarified and it made Cena really dig his heels into that character. He was wearing black, which really fit. He found his enemy and he found his goal. We are his enemy because he's sick of our crap. And his goal is to take the title and take it from us. And
It'll be nice. I'm sorry.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I'll be excited to see if WWE can actually connect those dots for those who don't know and don't get it and don't see it. Will they go back and pull stuff? Will they pull shots of him getting those titles that are spinner belts? Will he, show this feud between John Cena and the audience in the WWE Universe with just their figurehead being Cody Rhodes, and that's why he's fighting him now. That's great points there, and it actually helps connect the dots for me, because when I saw it, I thought, okay, he's going to come out, he's going to do his deal, the music's going to hit, it's going to be Cody, he's going to come in, and guess what happened? He came out, he did his deal, music hit, Cody came out, did his deal, he leaves, right? I maybe the exchange felt weaker to me. I didn't really catch on to the story.
I would agree with
like
that.
you did.
I think momentum wise, I think the story was clarified, but I think the promo was not as bubbly as maybe as it should have been.
I really expected last week, and I get why they didn't, but it's the first time you came face to face with a guy that just beat the living crap out of you with Travis Scott and The Rock, and you don't do anything to him.
Right.
That felt a little weird. And to go 2 weeks felt even more weird.
Yeah.
Like you're delaying the inevitable. Could you do like literally talk to him and then just kick him in the nuts like he did you? Could you do that? And I know that doesn't solve anything.
He's super Cody right now.
He is. That's right.
Do that.
He is. You're exactly right. We have one more thing I wanted to catch up on here before we have to go, and that is a lot of people online. The IWC is really kind of venting over the build-up for some matches. Yes, everything feels like the majority of the momentum is going for Cody and Cena. Understandable. Things are starting to pick up with whatever is happening between Roman, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. I'm in on that. I think there's some story to tell there. There's some mysteries to unravel in that. It doesn't have as much attention as Cody and Cena. After that, the next biggest one I would have thought would have been Gunther and Jey, and it feels like that's just kind of, oh yeah, that's right, we do have a world title match. I felt like that on Monday. They're like, oh yeah, that's right, we do have Gunther. Oh, that's right, Jey is up for that title. And then to have the confrontation on Raw, actually, well, it happened some in the ring, and Jey slips, which I don't know if it was on purpose or if it was part of the story. I mean, it looked like it was. Another angle kind of looked like, oh crap, he lost his footing. But then the confrontation backstage happened between Jey's brother, Jimmy, and Gunther. Is this, I see a lot of people say this, and see if you agree here, Michael. Is the Gunther Jey story starting to feel stale? Did they start it too soon?
We talked about this a few weeks ago. Well, a different version of this. It wasn't this specific question.
These two, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to call back to what I said. It's that the booking leading into it made no sense. We did a short program with Jey and Gunther, him getting that opportunity, then he lost. And
he lost it.
Yeah. And then he just turns around and wins the Rumble. I think it was just failures in booking. And I like Jey. I think everything about him is ready for a world title run. But only because of story, it doesn't feel like the right time. Like if he wins this, it's not going to feel like something. And so my overall gripe is I don't know that it went stale. I think we've just been a little apathetic to it from the start because it's like, okay, Jey's lost this 3 times. Like he's lost the opportunity 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it started here, and where it started and where it went to was about here. And that was really all the story that we have left until we actually have the match.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, you could have done anything. Like you could have had, Gunther go beat up people that Jey has been in an alliance with. There are things you could have done to make it more personal, to feel like something's happening, but it's not. It's about the title, which is great. I don't have a problem with that, but it's not interesting. There's no story here.
For a while, it was that Gunther kept jumping Jey in matches or before matches or right after his intro. And at this point, I'm kind of like, what if he had just kept that up? I might be more interested in it than I am right now. There's nowhere you can go, Jey, and I won't be there.
Yep.
And always keeping you from knocking you back down off the mountain, knocking you back down off the mountain. That might have been more interesting.
Could I zoom out for a second?
Do it.
Here's what's interesting about this WrestleMania season. I'll admit I'm falling into a little bit of the trap. Like, ooh, I don't know if this is shaping up. Like, I don't know if it's unraveling the way it needs to. And it's weird because pretty much for 2 years now, I've been on and on and on about how much better the storytelling is and how much better the product is. And now we're leading in to the biggest time of the year with a creative team that has been successfully long-term booking for 2 years, and things feel flat. It doesn't feel like that is right. So part of me wonders if like they just decided to like intentionally put a short fuse on this Mania where all this huge stuff is going to come together last minute. It puts all eyes on Vegas, and just all of a sudden it just feels like the biggest thing happening in all of the world.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm going to hope.
Well, I'll tell you, as we mentioned probably in every podcast, is that they've given us no reason to doubt. And so they've always tended to pull things together right at the last minute. Even what has felt like going into the day of a lackluster PLE has ended up being good, if not great, PLEs. And ever since the regime change, there's always been that kind of optimism leading into whatever it may be. This being the grandest stage of them all, see if they can't pull it off again, which I honestly don't really have a doubt, but I do have some still gun shy on some things like what we just talked about. Another one, Charlotte, Tiffany. We talked about that last week. That continues to get more awkward the further we go down the road. I'm ready to get it in the ring and get it over with, if I'm being honest, because I think the return of Becky Lynch is inevitable out of all of this. Whether Tiffany keeps the title and whatever happens between, maybe Becky is the reason that Tiffany keeps that title, or if Tiffany loses and Charlotte gets it, it inevitably leads to Becky returning, and I believe anyway, at WrestleMania 41. So if that is the means to the end, then so be it. I'm ready for Becky to be back. She is what makes me interested in Charlotte Flair, if I'm just being honest, is Becky Lynch. So if you are not following us on TikTok or Instagram, I would love to be able to feature your comments and things that you guys think about what we talk about here on this podcast. Follow us on those. Easy to find, Wrestle Chat Podcast. Hit follow there, and we'll post more stuff like that throughout the week. Get your thoughts. You can chime in there, and we'll share them here on the podcast. Michael, good to see you again, my friend.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet we'll see you back here next week on the Wrestle Chat Podcast.